Hello everyone, I'm Tim from Tim's PC and I build custom PCs to suit anyone's needs or budget. I also live stream my builds and repairs for transparency and educational purposes. So if you would like to get an awesome new PC and you'd like to see it get put together live, send me a message today. Alright, so we're back here again tonight with a good one, an all white PC build. Everyone loves the white theme these days. Basically, every second person pretty much wants white these days. It's almost as popular as what's happening there? We've got an issue on Twitch. I think it's going now. Looks like it. Yep. Excellent. Don't know what happened there on Twitch, but you know, these things happen. So, like I was saying, basically how it's sitting right now is pretty much every second person is wanting a white themed PC build. So I think everyone's going to get a little bit bored of this. So, I don't know. But they do look pretty bloody awesome with all the RGB. So if you remember your physics, white will reflect light. So if you add all the RGB into an all white build, it reflects all that light a lot more. Whereas if you put it in a black case, black absorbs light. So it does the opposite. So who have we got here? We got Tapiri with Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you, my friend. Good to have you with us as always. So let's go over the components here today. So like I said, everything is going to be white. We've got a white, even a white power supply. So we're going with this power supply mainly because it comes with white cables. So we have the Ryzen 5 5600X here, 6-core 12-thread CPU. This is a top-tier gaming CPU. You pretty much can't get a better gaming CPU than this little guy right here. That's why I sell so many of them. Basically, if your budget is $400 or more for a CPU, this is likely going to be what I recommend for you, unless you need more cores. So if you have under $300 to spend on the CPU, I'll be recommending an Intel option. So we've got 16 gigabytes of Trident Z Neo, 3200 MHz CL16 memory. Like we were talking about here, we've got the Corsair CX650F RGB power supply here. This is an 80 plus bronze unit with a 5-year warranty. So a good quality unit here for the build. So we've got, for our graphics card, we've got the Zotac RTX 3060 here. So I think they call this just the white edition. Pretty simple up there, white edition. So we'll have, I think we did a 3070 of this card recently, but not a 3060. So yeah, I think it's a very similar card in size. So we'll have a look at that obviously towards the end of the build when we unbox it. We have a Crucial P2 1000 gigabyte SSD here, NVMe. So just a regular Gen 3 SSD here. So we've got the ASRock B550 Steel Legend motherboard. We'll have a look at that when we unbox it. We've also got this Wi-Fi kit here. So this is one of the CNVI Wi-Fi kits that plug into the motherboard. Now, I don't know why I couldn't really buy too many of these at the time, but basically they represent a good value option when you're adding them to your ASRock board with the compatible CNVI Wi-Fi slot. So we'll go through the installation of that tonight as well. Who have we got? We got Sam here. So Sam is buying this computer for his missus, so he'll be very excited to see this. We've got Matthew here as well. Hey Matthew, how you going? Yeah, no, it's all really nice in white. So we've got 6 Cooler Master Sickle Flow ARGB fans here in white. And for our case and cooler, we have a Silverstone duo here. So this is the Silverstone PF240W 240mm all-in-one liquid cooler, and we are pairing it with the Silverstone Fara R1 in white. So this will look quite nice. So we're going to be mounting 3 fans on the front. We're going to be mounting the cooler to the top with 2 fans. And we're going to be replacing this black fan on the back, and we're also going to be mounting 2 fans to the bottom there as well. So this build will have plenty of cooling. There'll be plenty of airflow. There'll be fans blowing cool air directly up onto our graphics card with this build, so there won't be any issues with heat. So what we got here? Hey.
PC has been beautiful, running amazing.
Awesome. Good to hear, man. That's really good. Alrighty. So let's get started here. Let's have a look at the motherboard. Man, who have we got here? Crazy Aussie Gaming on Twitch says, hey, how you going, man? Good to have you with us. These ASRock boxes, right? They are huge. Like... Come on, it's an RTX motherboard, but wow. Look at this packaging. Hey guys, thanks for that. Ah, nice. I'm actually out of raspberry lemonade. Can you get me one of the blue ones? Cheers. All right, let's have a look at this motherboard. Yeah. Hey Mick, hey, how you going? Oh, sorry, Mick Marley, how you going? Just misheard my wife then. She's very shy. She doesn't talk very loud. She's getting better though. She has no reason to be shy. All right, so I've nearly unpackaged the motherboard. So this is our board. So you can see pretty clearly why we've gone with this particular board for a white theme build. Mark says I got G Fuel. What's that? G Fuel. I'm not familiar with that brand. Is that like some? I'm not familiar with it. And I should know. I used to work for one of Australia's biggest beverage companies.
Yeah, it is.
Ah, it's powdered stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, they have heaps of different stuff.
Can you go back to the? Alrighty. Oh, and I've got a phone call. Just going to silence that. Call them back later. Alrighty, so let's have a look at this motherboard in a little bit more detail here. So, starting up here, we have 12 pins of CPU power. We have a really decent power delivery on this board. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 phase power. So definitely making use of both of those connectors there. So really nice heat sinks here on our MOSFET VRM co-processors here. Obviously our AM4 socket. Got 2 fan headers up here, CPU optional. We have these RGB headers here, the 12 volt at the top here in white, and the 5 volt down here in grey. Over here we have another fan header. I think this is designated, no, just chassis fan 1. I was seeing if they designated as a pump fan or something like that. Anyway, we've got our dual channel memory here, so 4 slots, 2 channels. And the memory is always positioned very close to the CPU there. It's very important that because of the relationship between the memory and the CPU. They are joined at the hip. You can't use a computer without having memory plugged in or a CPU plugged in. You don't have to have anything else plugged in. If you have the motherboard, the CPU, and at least 1 stick of memory, it will turn on and at least display information. But you do need at least 1 stick of memory in your computer. So, and the reason is because the CPU has a very small amount of memory on it called cache, and that gets filled up very quickly. And the next place it stores it is in the memory. So when your computer's loading and when Windows is loading, it's going from your SSD and it's getting stored on the memory. And when it's in memory, the CPU can access it really, really fast, much faster than it can access it off a storage device. And it's the same when you open up and load a program or load a game and stuff like that. It stores all that information in the system memory there. So over here we have a USB Type-C front panel connection. We have a USB 3 front panel connection. We have our second chassis fan, which is the 4th fan header up to this part. We have 6 horizontally orientated SATA ports there. We have a postcode indication LED there, so that will show us an alphanumeric code that will give us an idea of exactly what our problem is on the motherboard. Better than those four easy debug LED lights that can only tell you so many things with 4 lights with 4 words. This can actually display, numbers, letters, basically hexadecimal codes is essentially what it will show. And you can look those codes up and you can find out exactly what the issue is with your computer. And say while it's posting, you could see exactly where in the post cycle it's getting hung up. So really, a really good feature, and you'll find this on most high-end motherboards. So down the bottom here, it looks like we have, let me come around here so I can get a good look at it. We have our front panel connection here with 1 pin that I think I may have slightly bent. That's fine. It's actually the spare pin on this header, so it's never in use, this one at the end. So next to it we have our diagnostic speaker header. We've also got this little header above it. This is the clear CMOS header. So some people will put their reset button onto the clear CMOS header, especially if they're overclocking, and then they can easily reset the motherboard to factory settings. Then over here, these little spare spots, looks like they are, yes, these little spots here that you see on a more high-end version of this motherboard. There will be a physical power button and reset button soldered into these spots. So it's just, this model didn't have that, so it's just got that spare. As you can see, it comes pretty well equipped with everything else. You've got 2 USB 2.0s there, another 2 fan headers, 2 more RGB headers, a 12 volt and a 5 volt. And we also have our front panel audio connection for our speaker and microphone jack on our case. And then all this stuff here that's sort of insulated a bit, these gold capacitors you see here, this is all the audio system on the board. It's kind of like having a sound card baked into the motherboard there. And around the back here we have our audio outputs. So we've got our optical out, or our Sony Philips digital interface, so you can plug this straight into your high-end soundbar or whatever and get really, really good audio quality. We also have these 2 little holes here, which we're actually going to be filling up. So what will be the process there? We will have to remove a few bolts. That'll be fun. We'll get to that. Yeah, right. I'll talk about that. So we've got Ethernet. We've got what looks like two USB 3.2s, two USB 3s. Actually, I think that's actually four USB 3s. These ones just have black plugs, but I can see inside, I can see some blue. So I think they actually are USB 3.0s there. We've got two USB 2s. We've got a PS2 port up there. We've got our HDMI and display port, which won't be in use for this build. So don't try and plug the cable in to those two. And then the only thing that we've got to talk about here is just this stuff in the center. So we have our main M2 slot up here. We also have another one under here. We have our CNVI Wi-Fi slot which we're going to be using tonight. Pull this little bit of sticky off the screw hole there in advance. And then we have our PCIe X16 slot. Then we've got two X1 slots and an X4 here. So it's the same length as the one up the top, but if you look inside the slot, you can see that the teeth are only connected about a quarter of the way along, whereas at the top one, you might not be able to see inside the socket there, but that's connected all the way along. So you don't want to plug your graphics card into that bottom black slot, even though it'll fit. So just a heads up there. And I think the only thing we didn't talk about was there's a little trusted platform module header here. This is where the security chip for Windows 11 goes. So anyway, that is the main features there of the ASRock B550 Steel Legend motherboard. And someone asked what's the difference between B550 and X570. Well, they're very, very, very similar. So what kind of happened was they released a new refresh of the 50 series chipset with AMD. So this replaced the B450 chipset, which was an aging platform at this stage. And so with Ryzen 5000 CPUs being launched, they sort of re-released those motherboards. So you've got a weird situation where the top enthusiast boards from AMD have older features than the newer B550 boards. The performance difference between B550 and X570, it's very, very small unless you're like get into overclocking and all that kind of thing. So a lot of people end up going with the B550 because it's usually got more features for the price, and usually you prioritize features over whether it's going to support really heavy overclocking or something like that. Ordinary people just like, man, I just want to buy a fast computer and it's just a fast computer and I just use it and it's good. That's the norm. So yeah, if you want, it's all about what. See, there's different winners at different prices. Different products stand out. Different things go on special. So I sort of look at B550 and X570, and I'll almost swap between them with people's builds, unless I know someone is a serious overclocker. Then there's certain X570 chipset boards that I will push them towards, because there are some with really good power delivery and really, really good cooling solutions. There are ones with direct touch heat sinks with heat pipes and fins on the MOSFET VRM co-processors up there, so that's really good to have if you're going to be overclocking and doing all that sort of thing. There is some B550s like that as well, so there's that as well. They've got you covered on that part. But yeah, essentially don't spend too much time worrying about the difference between them, because the difference is very, very small. It used to be a bit of a big difference between B450 and X570, because X570 had PCIe Gen 4, but B550 has PCIe Gen 4. So they took away, when they released B550, they took away the main thing that made people want X570 over B450. they gave the 50 series chipset that feature. So it's like, oh, now we've got a situation where they're like roughly the same thing.
Trigger's here.
Hey Dregger, how you going?
Brian says it depends on what prices they want.
Yep, Brian's exactly right. Yeah, there's different winners at different prices, different things go on special at different times. You fundamentally got to look at the features.
Marcus, can you ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I'm going to get started prepping this motherboard, but yeah, ask away. So start with the CPU. No stock cooler here.
Tim,
Yeah.
with mine, they said I subbed.
Ah, nice. Thanks, man. Very good. So this is going to be the last generation of these Ryzen CPUs with pins on the bottom of them. Going to be moving to land grid array with the new upcoming Ryzen 6000 series. So how long do you reckon Intel will catch up immediately with their new chips, or do you think it'll take them a couple of generations to fine-tune their product, considering we're going to be onto the 6th revision of Ryzen, 6th generation, and Intel's launching their new architecture now. So like you can kind of think of them as almost being like back where AMD was when they first launched Ryzen.
Yeah, that's what I was.
So it'll be very interesting to see what it all looks like and how it shapes out. So make sure I get this in the right optimized slots. Alrighty. And get our M2 drive installed. So I might put it under the bottom one, just because on some ASRock boards they don't have PCIe on both PCIe 4.0 I should say on both M2 slots.
Tim,
Yeah.
Mark says he has a friend who was building his first computer and the motherboard has a 4 and 8 pin for the CPU. Does he need both or just the 8 pin?
No, just the 8 pin is required. Well, technically, you could probably get away with just a single 4 pin, but yeah, plug in the 8 pin if you don't want your computer to potentially crash on you. All right, so we got some instruction booklets and stuff. If you don't know how to fit these things, it's pretty simple, but we'll go through it. So I'll show you what's inside this packet as well. So basically, this is just the Wi-Fi card, the antenna cables. We won't be using that bracket because we can actually integrate this under the heat shield, because this motherboard comes with these holes in the back there. So we're going to be plugging these antenna screws into there for this. So something a little bit different. Yeah, no, it's all good. It can be a bit sort of confusing when you open it up and you're like, oh shit, am I meant to have X? You're like, well, this doesn't match the motherboard, or yeah.
Sometimes they have powers.
Yeah, so if you've got a 12 pin like this, you only need the 8 pin. The only time you'd need the 12 pin, that's just to support heavy overclocking and stuff. It'll run, anything will run fine with the 4 pin. In fact, you can get boards that have 2 8 pins to the CPU, and you can just plug one 8 pin in and it'll just run just fine. Just means you won't be able to push it as hard if you were overclocking it. Yeah. That's not, like, I feel like almost eating my words straight away then, just to be safe, because it's different with workstation motherboards and stuff. Those chipsets sometimes require a minimum 2 8 pins for the CPU. Things like Threadripper and Xeon and stuff like that. Alright, so I'm sure we would have got offsets for this, but I'm just going to use one I prepared earlier. And so one of the things that some people like with B450 over X570 is the fact that there's no chipset fan, so it never makes that high-pitched, like, small fan whiny sound. So a lot of people really dislike that. Yeah. Yeah, man, absolutely. All repairs, upgrades, new PCs, whatever you need, basically. Okay, so we've got our bottom M2 in there. So we're going to turn our attention now to this Wi-Fi module. So I've got to have a look here. So I'm pretty sure, should be able to just rest that, just like that. I'll need a smaller screwdriver head for sure. So yeah.
When upgrading, do you buy the graphics card yourself?
Well, it depends exactly what you want, man. Like, I can normally, I don't have any issue buying graphics cards right now. Alright, so I've removed this built-in I/O shield, which is just a regular I/O shield bolted into the bottom of the motherboard there. And so now we have this exposed back. So this will make it easy for us to run our cable. So we're not going to be using the bracket here because that will be ugly. So we're going to conceal it all nicely so you wouldn't even know it was there. Until you look at the motherboard and you go, what's that chip that's plugged into it? Alright, so let's, oh, look at this. Oh, look at this cable length we got. Awesome.
Very nice.
I hate a short antenna cable.
It's very
I bought a heap and I got gypped.
Yeah, that was a bit of a shame. So waited a while for that, didn't you?
Yeah. Let's get a M2 screw in here.
So,
Yeah.
mainly trying to add 38 to my current system, but I don't know if I need to change other components in my current setup.
How big's your power supply? What CPU are you running? Okay. Have you seen my green pliers?
Ooh,
You're gonna need them for this. Oh, here they are. So I need to disassemble this bracket here. So once you loosen it, this should come off pretty easily. So it's just one threaded bolt and a washer. Really easy. Yeah.
Michelle says it's a Raspberry 2600 with 650 watt 80 plus gold PSU.
Yeah, so that would be okay. Like, it would be borderline. I'd still be thinking. My thoughts with the 2600 is it's kind of showing its age a little bit now. In terms of gaming CPUs, 3080 would be a little bit bottlenecked in quite a few games by that. So the 650 watt power supply, that's fine with something like a Ryzen 5600X and a 3080. That'll be fine. You won't go over wattage with that if you're just running everything normal wattages and stuff like that. It's not going to be an issue. They say 750, but see that's like, when they say 750, they're thinking that everyone's got like a big toasty i9 or something like that uses shitloads of juice and stuff like that. They're assuming the worst when they give you that advice. 650 will be fine. You can go to what's that power calculator tool that I use? Send me a message. I'll give you the link to a power calculator tool that I use. I'll let you select all the components.
I can see it, but I
Yeah,
can't think
yeah.
of it.
It's got a really generic name, but send me a message and I'll let you know what that is, and you can go and just add it all up yourself, and you'll see what I'm talking about. 650 watts will be enough for a lot of people with a 3080. Mark's running a Ryzen 5 3600 with an 850 watt machine. Yeah, and that's ideal because that will never get to a stage where it's like inefficient as such in terms of power consumption. All right.
Mick says hi guys.
Hey Mick, how you going?
Michelle says I want to use it for 3D rendering and video editing. I only play very little CPU issue for games. League of Legends.
Man, you need
Have a
no,
RTX
dude.
580.
Dude, you need to get a better CPU than that. Like, do you value your time? Video rendering is very intensive activity, and a Ryzen 2600. Mates, don't let mates render videos with a Ryzen 2600. Like, that's last resort stuff. Okay, so we just gotta.
Got the money, go 5900, 5950.
Yeah, honestly, if you've got the money, go a 5950X. Go the 3080 if you need it. If you do rendering that is GPU based, because a lot of the time, like, say if you're working with like something simple like Adobe Premiere, that is more of a CPU bound workload than a graphics card. You could just run a 3060 and it's going to be pretty much just as good as with a 3080 in there. So there's that to consider. Alright, so how's that looking? Nothing sticking out. Alright, so we've got our cable run discreetly just around there. I should show you this a little bit further up, closer up, so you can see what I actually did. So we've got our M2 CNVI Wi-Fi module, and we've got a cable that just runs up there, behind there, under there, and then we've just got it folded up at the back here, and then we've got our two little Wi-Fi things to plug in.
Also had some pieces to 3060 streaming.
Yes, so Mark's got the ideal setup with a dedicated streaming PC. He's decided he's not gonna not gonna fuck around, basically.
Can I start with operating with you and go with GPU and with GPU rendering first?
Yeah.
Hang on. It's an asterisk on GPU.
Yeah, no worries. Like, send me a message, and yeah, we can go from there. Alright, so I'm gonna get these through here.
Mark's only got the one PC at the moment,
Oh no.
so he's streaming in.
Yep. Yeah, sometimes people come to me and they want like a really powerful PC, and they're like, because it has to stream and game at the same time. I'm like, dude, why don't you get a dedicated streaming PC? Even if it's just $1,000, something cheap. At least the stream can be managed by a computer that's not connected to your gaming PC. Then you just get unadulterated performance from everything. Okay,
It's
so
like very fiddly work.
it is a little bit fiddly, but once you've done a couple of these, it's relatively easy.
Oh, that'd take me like half an hour or something.
Well, look, I'm not gonna say that this is like a beginner kit to install here.
No.
This is something that is not intended for like first time builders. If you're a first time builder, get a motherboard that has this built in,
Yeah.
because you'll have
buy
fun.
one of those cards like I have.
Yeah, or you just buy a PCIe card, of course.
John says, "G'day, mate. How's it going?"
Hey John, how you going, man? Haven't seen you for a little while. Good to have you here. Okay, so now we've got those antennas screwed in. We can go ahead and put this back on. Yeah. Ah, yes. Okay, so let's well, let's go. Screw this rear I/O shield back into place. And yeah, the thing is also with these screws, this is a very fine thread on these. If you don't have an electronics kit, you probably won't have the right gauge to screw these on.
That's a hard name. Vaishnav, I hope I'm saying that right, said, hey buddy, at what price you bought the 3060? Why do you think the prices are high?
Prices are high because, look, as far as like I can sort of tell you, it's because the regional distributors sell them at the price that they are, and they say they're getting that pricing from the board partners. So I don't know. I don't want to speculate about like specifics, if you know what I mean. That'll just be something that I'll have to regret probably at a later date, you know. There's a lot of speculation and stuff like that. You message me privately. We can have a chat about what we think. But yeah, that like there's no yeah. The one thing I will call out is there is like no budget graphics cards at the moment. So you've got a combination of suspiciously and conveniently so there's just no budget graphics cards. There's plenty of the high-end ones. I don't know. I'm a pretty cynical man, so you know, you do with that what you want. Yeah, man, I hear ya. Someone asked me today. I had a walk-in customer today, and he asked me what games I played, and I was like, geez, I had to like think about what games I had installed.
Oh, is that why you updated it?
That's why I updated all my games, because I was like, hang on, I got the fast internet now. Let's see how fast my games download.
Like instantly?
Yeah, it's pretty fast. But there was like, I think there was like,
It wasn't instantly.
there was about 80 gigabytes worth of updates for all of my stuff. What brand?
The Supreme X.
There are really good cards from all of the manufacturers.
They always make really nice, good quality.
I'd say the ROG Strix is probably the quote unquote best. But in terms of like quality and stuff, like if you buy, like Asus, MSI, and Gigabyte, they all have like, they've all got like their cheaper cards, and then they've got their like really high-end nice ones. And the thing is, all those ones, doesn't matter which manufacturer you go to. If you look at like say all the 3080s, right? You'll see that there are some that are cheaper, some that are more expensive. If you compare the group that are around the same price and are more expensive together, the quality of them is going to be pretty much consistent. MSI Gaming X, that's the middle range from MSI. MSI probably have the best defined range of graphics cards. So they've actually got two middle tiers. They've got Gaming X and Gaming Z. So just a fun fact there. So if you
that Gundam one that you had?
Oh yeah, that's
that one.
Well, this is the ROG Strix Gundam edition in white. This is definitely a high-end one, and this would be not only is it a high-end 3080, just straight up, it will be one of the 3080 GPUs that came out pretty much perfect.
Like spend and what sort of brand you like, really.
Yeah. Yeah, like I wouldn't if someone is like an Aorus fan and they want the Aorus Master card, I'm not going to tell them, oh no, you've got to get the ROG Strix because technically it's the best, because the performance difference between them is very, very small. You could overclock one and make it better than the other, and you know, it's all about what's important to you. And the fact is, if you're buying one of their top tier cards from any of the manufacturers, you need a top tier product. They've all usually got 3-year warranty, so if you just buy it, you'll get the same 3-year warranty on pretty much all of them. Some of the cheaper ones have 2-year warranties, so watch out for that one. All right. So yeah, we're going to just prep up this all-in-one liquid cooler here. Oh, well, I mean, you don't need a massive CPU to run the stream. So, you know, even something, it's like an i3 or an i5 would do fine. Like, I mean, how much system resources are we using right now on your computer? Like, open up task managers down the bottom in the top of the thing. CPU about 12% of a 5950X, so yeah, that's a pretty low bar. That's a pretty low bar for a CPU. Go at i5. I'm multi-streaming as well. I'm streaming to 3 different platforms at the same time, running 2 capture cards with 2 video inputs to the stream. So I'm probably running a more hefty workload in terms of the processing power. But yeah, you don't need a very strong CPU for if you're running a dedicated streaming PC. All it's going to do is just sit there and run the video feed. So if you've got a 3060 there, that's probably even overkill. You probably don't even need the 3060 for it. Like how much is your 3060 using right now? Like you've got a 3060 in there. Go back to the. Sorry, you just closed out of it. So to give you an idea, what's that? What's it being used?
23, 26,
20,
22,
23 for
33.
Yeah. So basically the highest value that I'm seeing right now. Do you want to screenshot the graphics card? So just to show you, just to give you an idea. So this is what we've got here that we're screenshotting. This PC. This is the this is a video editing workstation. So it's not. Oh.
We've tried to do this before.
Ah, yes. Yes, we have. Send it to me and I'll post it. So you go like that, basically. Okay, let's do this quickly. But yeah, like I said, the 3060 is like completely overkill for it. Just a second. Yeah.
Michelle wants to know how big is the performance difference supposed background limits your Zotac cards.
What's my view on
Zotac cards.
the Zotac cards? Yeah, I mean, like I said, they all come with similar warranties. So that's the main thing, and like I was saying, there are cheap cards and good cards from each manufacturer. So why actually? Yeah. It's not letting me share a photo. It's not letting me share a photo. Nah, look, we're gonna keep moving. It's derailing everything. Oh, and it's really weird looking at myself on the computer.
Huh?
Just can't close out of that. No, Mark, send me a message, man, and I'll send you through those screenshots. Yeah, I'd probably just go an i5. Go i3. That'd get the job done as well. But yeah, these Zotac cards in the white, pretty sure they all have 3-year warranties. So you're getting the same 3-year warranty on that as you are on the Asus or the Gigabyte one. It's just you're more familiar with certain brands than other ones. So you got to remember that they still, it doesn't matter what brand you get, the GPU is still made by Nvidia. Doesn't matter which brand it is. So okay, so we're going to mount the CPU cooler to the block now. So I'm going to use a bit of Arctic Silver thermal compound here. It's very thick stuff. Trick is submerge it in a little bit of hot water, raises the temperature, makes it a little bit easier to work with. Always remember to remove tabs there. And like I said, we're going to mount it like this. Oh, I don't have... That's going to be fun. I need these. Pretty hard to attach our cooler without these. Yeah.
Charles, you're located on the north side or south side?
I am.
Located on the east side.
Yeah, I'm at Tingalpa, which is literally just over the Gateway Bridge.
Take the Venom exit, but like
Yeah.
2 minutes down the road.
Yeah, we're on the south side of the bridge. Yeah, we're practically the first exit you come to when you come over the bridge.
Charles, it's confused me. There's 3 fans metal or 2?
Yeah, well, see, the main,
Depends on how
that's
you
the,
orient
we're
it.
onto a really good subject here with graphics cards, because that's the main thing you're paying for with the more premium graphics cards. You are paying for a better cooler, okay? So,
Case has it.
yeah, you buy yourself one of those cheaper cards. They're going to have 2 fans, and they're going to have a tiny heat sink on them, and you're not going to be able to overclock them as hard. Because that's the main thing that you're paying for. People pay for a big cooler on their graphics card so they can overclock it and get extra frames. That's the whole attraction. Or if you want something that's going to last, potentially longer than 3 years, because you're not going to overclock it and all that, then that's another reason to get one with a big cooler on it, so it runs really cool for its whole life. If it's running at really, even if it's not running at like too hot temperatures, if it's running really, really hot for its whole life, it's probably going to die earlier than if it was running cooler. So that's the general rationale. People, when they buy a 3080 or something like that, they generally want it to last 5 years. Okay, you spend $2,000 plus on a graphics card. You don't want to buy another one in 2 years' time. You want to be like, yeah, this is my card. I'm going to get many years of enjoyment out of this. All right, that's how you justify spending that much money on the graphics card. So naturally, the 3080s with the bigger coolers on them are more desirable, and they cost more money. So that's the main thing you'll pay for. With the brands that you don't know as much about, they'll always usually be cheaper, and that's just because you haven't heard of them. So they have to come in at a better price to win you over, essentially.
Mine's like more chunky for 3060.
Yeah, but that's because yours is one of the top 3060s. Yeah, it's up there with their ROG Strix. Yours is pretty much on par in performance with the ROG Strix 3060. Yours is just like the ROG Strix 3060 has a cooler that's just too big for it. It doesn't even need that much, even if you overclock it. Yours is just like a more rationally designed 3060 ROG Strix. Yeah, the fans barely come on. Alright, so we've got our cooler all sorted out here. So we'll turn our attention now to the case. So the case also has a little bit of work here as well, because we have 6 fans to mount. So you can buy this case here with or without RGB fans pre-installed in it. The thing is, if you buy the one with the pre-installed RGB fans, they are black. So if you buy that one, you might want to go for a more black-white theme than just a plain white. Or you could go pretty much all white with everything else and just go a black graphics card or something. I don't know, whatever you like. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life.
You do you.
You do you, man. Alright. So we're not installing a hard drive here. We can add a hard drive, like if you want like another 1 terabyte hard drive in there, I can add one for $60 or something. That's no issue. I got 7200 RPM WD Blues. So they're being 7200 RPM, they're the faster version of a mechanical drive. So they you get faster read and write speeds.
You have heaps.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
do you already have stocks to build them, or do you buy them after ordering? Or if you live in Brisbane,
It depends what you're buying, man. Like I don't generally buy like I try not to buy too many motherboards and cases and things like that, just because I like to leave people with a choice, and I don't like to stock up on things like the only things I stock up on are really generic, if you know what I mean. SSDs, hard drives, fans, sometimes power supplies, but cases, graphics cards, motherboards, CPUs, I stock up on CPUs. That yeah, like nothing. When it comes to cases, I'm not like pressured to sell you one case or another, because I've got like, you know, a self-storage shed or whatever full of PC cases that I'm trying to flog off, and I don't ever want to be that guy, if you know what I mean.
I think Michelle lives in Cleveland.
Oh, Clayfield. Oh, it's easy as. We drove through there today.
Just drive through that all.
Yep. Me and
used to work
Christine
at
both
Ascot,
used to work at Coles at Ascot, so we know the Clayfield area very well, and I knew.
It's such a shame that Ascot and can't stand deli anymore. That was my first deli.
Yeah, what's the new Coles local like?
That's if you've been in there.
Yeah, if you've been in there. It's meant to be pretty. Coles were talking it up.
I saw some photos of it. Pretty fancy.
But see, I kind of still work in FMCG. Kind of call this FMCG, but it's kind of.
It's a
It's a little bit. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different.
Still consumer goods.
I have what? So. Like 19 years in that industry. Anyway. Alright, so we'll get our power supply in, because that's not going to interrupt anything. And so because it's got RGB lighting, we'll get a bit of an underglow at the bottom of our case here with this. So here it is, our power supply. Fully modular, white with an RGB fan and all white cables.
There's something we can do next time before we do streaming to fix Twitch, because it just doesn't want to load properly at all. It's shit.
Yeah, okay. We'll have a play around with that. Okay, so we'll go to your CPU. Just make sure you plug the right end into the power supply and the right end into the motherboard. So we're going to need 2 CPU power cables here. So one we need the X8 and one we'll just pull apart and use it as an X4. So our CPU power. We'll need we need a SATA cable. I'm going to install a SATA cable anyway as like a bare minimum. And that leaves that unused, this Molex unused. And what do we got here? Oh, the addressable RGB cable, yep. Yep, we want that. We want to be able to change the light sequence on our power supply.
I don't think I have to put stickies on the side of the box.
And so, do we just have a single 8-pin on this? Looks like it could be 2. Well, let's install both the cables. Like, you wouldn't need 2 for a 3060 to be honest, but it looks neater if you've got 2 plugs, use 2 different cables than trying to use the one cable with the 2 headers. It just looks neater.
Shit.
And finally, we have our motherboard cable. So one end we've got 10 pins and 20 pins, and that goes into the power supply here. And then we have our 24 pin, or it's usually, no, this is just a straight 24 pin. They used to be 20 plus 4s, and you could pull them apart, but this one is only 24, which is what you want. We don't use motherboards that only need 20 pins of power anymore. So if we're not using this hard drive cage, we're going to put our spare cables in there, store them away.
Do you want these?
I just leave them here. Put them there for now. Alright, so I'm gonna use silver bolts here on this build. So I should be able to spot this connection out here. Silver bolt there. Yeah, sweet. Look at that. It's a small touch. Sweet as. Got our power cables all installed there. I'm going to put that RGB cable over with those other ones. And I'll leave the SATAs over there as well. Okay, so we're not going to put the fans on the bottom just yet. They're going to be the last two things that we screw in after we've plugged in everything down the bottom. I did that once and I'm like, oh, don't make that mistake again. Okay. So I'll put this one in down here. I need
Just staring at me. Not even making a sound, just staring at me. It's kind of creepy.
just needed some more silver bolts for the back here. So I'm going to screw these into the bottom position here. But I'm just going to do 2 bolts because I'll probably end up moving it. I like it when they put a little hook or something up there to keep that cable out of the way. Yeah, I know.
There isn't like a little hole there, but
It's not enough. It's okay. I'm a big kid, I can deal with it. Okay, so our front fans. Now these fans don't need silver bolts, so they're covered up. Can you hold that shield away? Yeah, no, that's...
Don't pull that. Don't you remember clean as you go?
Oh, stuffed Coles. Hey, I haven't worked at Coles for a long time. I moved on with my career as quick as I could. Yeah, they've made all the meat people at Coles like redundant. All the butchers and stuff.
Don't remind me.
Yep.
No comment.
Yeah.
Oh, literally no comment now.
Yeah, I know. You can't say anything, and you didn't say anything. I brought it up, not you.
Yeah, so anyway.
What's up?
It's just that silence.
Yep. The silence while I'm screwing the fans in as quick as I possibly can. What have we got here? We need to get some more offsets in the case, including that extra ASRock offset that they like to put in place. Four more offsets to screw in here to accommodate this motherboard. Oh, that's not. Yeah, no, that's not the right height. It's a different one. It's a different one. So sometimes the thread pattern in these offsets can be different, and sometimes the height can be different. So you definitely want to watch out for the height. No, I can plug it in.
I'm just like standing here holding it and you're doing the offsets here. I'm just like, what's this?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it.
Yeah, it was tangled up with all the other stuff out the back.
Yeah, I'll pull them out as I need them. All right. Okay, so we've got a lot of cables sticking out here now. We'll get our board into the case. Let me get one of these bolts. Sweet as. So I'm going to lie this down. Sweet. I'm going to go ahead and screw this in. So I'm going to use silver bolts in here as well. So that'll look really nice. Alright, now that I've got those in place, I'm just going to run these cables here behind the motherboard. Yeah.
I don't play a lot of games. You sell a lot more PCs, have you?
Have I heard of what?
Factorio.
I've heard of it, I haven't played it though. Oh, tell people about that role-playing game.
Ooh.
That like really
Oh.
interesting RPG.
Yeah, there's a new game coming out next year called Stray. So you're a cat and you use like cat abilities to get out of this abandoned city. That's really, yeah. Maybe you could explain it.
Yeah, you play as a stray cat and you've gotta
You gotta
make
get
your
back
way
to your
through
family.
this. You gotta make your way through this city. It's like post-apocalyptic sort of thing
Yeah,
where
there's humans, but they're not humans anymore. They're like
it's like transhumanism has taken over and everyone's like replaced parts of their bodies with machines, and you're this little cat trying to like make your way out of the city. You got to like use the cat's like senses and abilities to like navigate through this world.
Tim,
Yeah.
this looks neat and beautiful already, Tim.
Yeah, it's coming along. We get all these silver bolts in, that makes a big difference. Yes, that'll definitely be a good one. Alright, 2 more. We got 2 more, I think. Alrighty, so I've got that motherboard in place. So the next thing I want to look at is CPU power, right up top. Okay. There we go. Oh, and then we can just push these cables into the lip there. And they'll just conceal neatly like that. We've got our CPU power installed there. So we've got a couple of fan headers and we've got an RGB header up there as well. So I might slide. Look, I might see if I can do that over here. Nope, we're going to have to loosen this bolt. There we go. So start our daisy chain up here. And we need to get some fans in place here. So what did we get for fan controls with these? Did we just get just triple splitters? And these are just RGB controllers. In that drawer, can you chuck me a controller? I'm going to throw in a 6-device pulse width modulation fan controller here. This is free. So we've got a total of 8 fans plus the CPU pump. But I think I will. I was going to power it by Molex, but what do I get? I didn't get another Molex cable. I didn't plug Molex and I wasn't planning on using it. Alright, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So I usually prefer to power a pump with Molex, just because then if anything happens, the BIOS gets reset, and the fan settings get changed in BIOS. They're not going to have the CPU running on a the pump running on a variable speed, like if they just plugged it into the CPU fan header, for example. Yeah.
Mixers hate to work. What's the best solution for Corsair and EK fans to work simultaneously? I hate that word. With the RGB, the DIMMs and CPU cooler RGB.
Yeah, well, they design it that way because they want you to buy. They want you to buy all their products. So with Corsair, yeah, you get the best RGB, but their stuff usually doesn't play as nicely with other RGB controls. So there's that to consider. Yeah.
Since I see that you have the 8 and 4 CPU power on top of the onboard connected.
Sorry, what's that?
The 8 and 4 pins for the CPU.
Yep.
Have both connected.
Yes.
You said you don't need both.
Yeah, but
Why did you connect both?
because it has both, and the power supply supports both. So I would be not completing the build properly if I didn't install what like the capacity of it.
Why do you have to shed so much food?
Because he's a cat.
Oh, because he's a long hair cat. Short hair cats don't shed as much.
Okay. So we've got all that stuff plugged in up the top there. So we can turn our attention to the radiator now and getting that mounted. And then we have a relatively easy run home. Do you want to assist, my dear?
Bloody hell. Jeez.
Gonna have room to slide that fan up. Thank you. Sweet as. That's all looking good. So that'll sit down like that. So now we might plug in all this stuff down the bottom. Jeez, that doesn't leave me a lot of room, does it? Like, none at all.
What's up?
Oh, there's no room to run the cable that I want. No, I'm not having that. So luckily, I've only got two things that can plug in down here. And one of them I think is okay, yeah, and one of them isn't. That is in there. That ain't going nowhere. Yeah. Yeah, no, this is going to be a beauty. Finally upgraded my old shitty phone, and I'm now running a Snapdragon 865 chipset phone. Yay! It's so much better than my old shitty one. I think I had a Snapdragon like 360 or some shit, like really old.
It's a potato.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so USB 2 won't be a problem. Just come up here. plugs in there, nice and easy. USB 3 on this board is it's just in here. Oh, I had it the right way. Yep.
Tim,
Yep.
so is that a Samsung S21 Plus?
Yes. Yeah. You'll have the Snapdragon 865 as well. Awesome, mate. I'm really happy. It's a big upgrade from what I had. So happy days. Make sure we get these on the right bloody pins. And we'll reset switch. Power LED. And finally, our power switch. Okay, so we've got all that stuff installed down the bottom there now. So we can put these last two fans in. So these two fans down here will be positioned like what looks like upside down, but that's intentional because we want them to be blowing cool air onto our graphics card. Okay, Yeah.
Also, listeners, have you had problems with GPU sacking?
No. Nah, haven't had any of that. Alright, so yeah, we'll be using this fan controller here. So I'm just going to go and mount that right there. Start plugging in some fans. Yeah, look, I think I will install a Molex cable and power it by Molex. Since we've only got one cable not plugged in, I may as well just plug it in and leave it stashed up the back. There we go. We'll stash those Molex cables away there, because all we need is just this. And so I'll plug that in to a Molex cable, just like that. And then this cable from the pump, I'll just plug in directly to that cable, and then we have the pump powered directly. Plug in our fan controller to this SATA cable, and once again we're going to stash it away. So now all we should be seeing is RGB cables. So yeah, the hard part is definitely over. Okay, so we've got our RGB daisy chain. This is easily the messiest part of the build, is all of these little cables. So, Okay, so we've got all that RGB hooked up. Can now plug in our motherboard power. Sweet. Alright, so we're just left with our graphics card now. What's up?
I gave you little tiny scissors to help that sort of thing, but what have you done?
Oh, they're behind me.
Very fanciful. It's actually the same design.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking for another silver bolt like this. Sweet. Alrighty. So I'm going to put a couple of plugs here in the motherboard. we go. And which one's HDMI? This one. Okay. Oh, I need another 2 of those bolts. One. Not being blind. Sweet as. What's up? What? The graphics card? Sweet as. Let's get our graphics card installed. Oh, we're using slots. Oh shit. Oh, this will be fun. There we go. Got rid of it. This top back blanking plate back in place. And now we can utilize slots 2 and 3. go. And so all we have left to plug in now is our graphics card cables. So we'll probably run these ones from around here. Okay, so there she is, all ready to go. So now's the time where we see whether I've done everything right and whether all of our components work. You can also think of this as the fun part of the night. Plug in a Windows USB, plug in some peripherals. Well, we can see some signs of life already. That's not the cooler block that's lit up, it's just reflecting. Ready for later. Alrighty, what do we think? It's gonna work? It's gonna work. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's see if I've got a BIOS in here. ASRock had this really cool tool. Nope, hasn't found it. There we go. Okay, so these are all on PWM. Sweet. Okay. We'll have to tie down some of these cables a little bit tighter. That's okay. I can do that while this is going on. Alrighty, I'm going to cover this up. I'm going to enter this person's product key right now. Okay, while that's going on, okay, we can go ahead and restart now. Okay, so luckily we are not in the United States. Okay, let's plug in some internet. Okay. Okay, so we've got an ASRock motherboard here, so all we need is R23. Let me make my screen a bit bigger now that okay, so that'll just all install and get those updates there, and we can start installing the rest of the stuff. Put down those custom icons so we can keep everything organized. Noah Cronus, yes, App Shop. And Ryzen Master, Chrome, CPU Z, Crystal Disk Info. There's our graphics card driver. Doesn't take long to download now. Okay, that won't take long to download there. We'll get the latest BIOS. extract that. Copy. There we go. It's ready to go. Crystal disk mark. Crucial. And just need Epic installer. Alright, let's set up MSI Afterburner quickly here, and then we're going to do a restart. Okay, that's sorted. Alright, let's set this up quickly. Okay. So let's get that rebooted. Okay. Go. Yep, everything is installed. We're just waiting on waiting on these last updates. We can just hit restart now, and that'll do its thing for a bit. Okay, it looks like we're nearly done. Alright, let's turn off all this annoying shit that opens up automatically. Alright, we're up to date. Okay. Well, I'll restart. We'll do the BIOS update. What are you talking about? Why is it not reading that off my... That is odd. So I'm sure I got the right BIOS there. Is it not just? Is it just not reading the BIOS folder on my SSD? We'll see. Twitch is fucked up again.
It's been formatted.
Oh really? Just. So I'll try. I've got the BIOS file there. Oh, hang on, 2nd of the 9th. That's not the right one. Oh. I think the other one is just a different. It's just like the earlier version. I want to see if it detected it. No, okay. Okay, so let's give this one final go. I normally don't have any problems with the instant flash tool. It usually works really well. Now it's found it. Well, that other one must be for the one with included Wi-Fi. Okay, update items complete. So we've got our RGB control software and everything installed, with the latest BIOS running, so it's all happy days now. Alrighty, so let's have a look at our CPU, and we'll run a speed test on our SSD in the background there. So we've got our our 5600X there. I got some different results in there for 11900K up the top there, eh? Yeah, but let's compare it watt by watt. And multi-thread. Oh, that shouldn't be there. That's an 8-core. Maybe it's got data for the 5800X running in 6-core 12-thread mode. They've updated this. This is cool. Yeah, 5600G on there. Yeah, very good. Alrighty. Nice fast speeds on our SSD there. Alrighty. You can see it's a brand new SSD. Okay. Wait for that to finish and we might run some gaming benchmarks. There we go. So run some gaming benchmarks here. So run Heaven with the out-of-the-box settings. Oh, we don't have, it's not displaying FPS, showing statistics. There we go. So this number below RAM is the FPS it's currently running at. Alrighty, that looks like heaven's done one cycle there. So move on to the next one. So we'll do Valley. This is a slightly different benchmark, and we run it on maximum here. Alrighty. That was Valley on maximum. In this one we do a 4K benchmark. Okay. That is done. So now we're moving on to the final part of the night. So this is where we do our stress test. So basically, we're just going to be hitting the graphics card and CPU. I'm not getting quite up to 100 there in Firmark. What can I do? There we go. There we go. So we just run this for the next 90 minutes. So if you've got any other final questions for me before I sign off, now's the time to ask. But as you can see here with the temperatures, it's not going to be an issue. I'll just give it a little bit longer before I sign off, just while I tighten these Wi-Fi screws up. Go, nice and tight. So I think that will be the end of the night. So our Wi-Fi, Bluetooth's installed, everything's all good. Well, yeah, I might leave it there for the night. So thanks everyone for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all in the next video.